Neck-throughs, guitars, they're like a guy that you won't have a beer with you.
I want to hear what's pushing the notes.
Freddie King and B.B. King, Albert King, and let's not forget Burger King.
I don't want to blow my knuckle out.
Stainless steel is the work of the devil.
These go to 11.
From the East Amplification Tone Labs in Baltimore, Maryland, it's the Amps and Axes Show. With your hosts, Jeff the Godfather of Low Wattage Amps Bober and Mick Marcelino.
Well, good day to you, Mr. Bober.
Good day to you, Mr. Marcelino.
It's going to be a great one today.
It is. It is.
We have some exclusivity. And I said that correctly.
You did. You did. and it's true. It's
I
true.
know. You guys are going to love this one.
Yes.
Before we go, though, thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And a lot of love for Tom Principato.
Yeah, you were saying. Nice.
So, very cool on that. And
you get to see the numbers. I
get to see all that stuff.
I could ask you, but I just take your word for it.
And you know what? You guys are hitting the website, so make sure that you're spreading that around. That's ampsandaxescast.com. All of the social media stuff's there. Go to that. Make sure you go to iTunes. 5 stars. We got to keep this train going.
That's it.
And you got to spread the word. Spread the word to your friends.
Yes,
Look,
please.
I could put something up in the sky or get it on the moon, but that's illegal.
Right.
So, and it would cost way more than what it costs for us to do this right now.
That's right. So yeah, do what you can. If in conversation, it happens to come to the front of your cerebral cortex, go, hey, Amps and Axes, and then just continue with the conversation.
There you go.
Just spontaneity. We're all about the spontaneity.
Exactly. Nobody will think you're crazy at all.
Absolutely. That makes all of us.
When you get there, though, and you go see the show, right underneath the show, we have our good buddy who will be back this week.
Oh yes,
Mr.
Jason Saditas.
And he gives us
quick lick.
See. That's good.
See, he's back, and so are we.
He was like apologetic. I'm like, what are you apologizing for?
Right.
And he's got a new album coming out.
Yeah.
And it's got Marco Miniman on the drums.
Of course.
So we're going to have him back on the show to talk about this new project, this new album he's got, where he lives now. So that way, if he's on vacation, you guys can rob him. Because he's got a lot of cool guitars.
We'll be sure for him not to give his address.
Yeah, exactly.
Or maybe even his town.
But here's the cool thing. Speaking of guys who can really play, Mr. Robert Fripp. From King Crimson.
Yes.
And did one album with David Bowie.
Yes.
The late, great David Bowie.
And the inventor of the so-called Fripptronics.
Yes. Well, anyway, hold on one second here. I want to find it. Here it is. Okay. So you can now, starting soon, you will be able to, if you're in the New Hampshire area, actually Derry, New Hampshire, it's Derry.
New Hampshire.
Or is that Dury? I don't know. We're
Derry?
Dury. I don't know. Anyway, it looks like Derry.
Someone will let us know, I'm sure.
At a music store, he is retiring from music, and at Smash Music, located on East Broadway Street in Derry, New Hampshire, you can get guitar lessons. He is becoming a guitar teacher, and that's how he's going to spend the rest of his career.
Wow.
He is done with King Crimson, all the stuff, and he's going to now be teaching. Can you believe that? That would be like Eddie Van Halen. Next week we'll start giving out guitar lessons.
We're gonna be interviewing somebody 10, 15 years from now, and they're gonna go.
I got this guitar lesson.
I heard your podcast, and I moved to New Hampshire
so I could
go get lessons.
Exactly.
Right.
Is
That's
that
hilarious.
crazy?
Wow. Good on him, man.
How about that?
Good on him. And lucky are the people that will
to be able to
will get instruction from him.
Yeah, because you talk about technology. If you watch that rig rundown, there's one out there from Premier Guitar.
Oh, okay.
That they do with him. That is the most complicated technological thing you've ever seen in your life.
Wow.
I mean, he's got the VG8 thing. He's got, he's like Jennifer Batten in that sense, where it's just a lot of stuff with his Parker Fly, that, his signature Parker Fly, and just crazy, man.
I wonder what's different about that Parker Fly.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We'll have to find out.
Or wait a minute, am I wrong with that? I may be wrong with that. I think I'm wrong with that. There was another guitar player. Who was the other guy?
Adrian Belew.
That's it. No. Okay, so I'm wrong. I just caught it. Adrian.
Last time I saw Adrian, which was way back when that iteration of King Crimson was around, he was playing a Strat. Belew was playing a Strat.
Yeah, but he also went over to that. I'm just looking here. So he did Heroes and Scary Monsters and Super Creeps for Bowie
stuff. Right.
Yeah, and now this is Fripp.
Yeah, and Fripp.
But
I
wait a
thought
minute.
he was playing like an Ibanez double cut.
I don't know. There's no picture
body
here.
Thing.
But Belew played with Bowie too.
More than likely.
Yeah. Okay, that's where my head was going. I had them mixed up.
Okay.
Shocker.
Well, two freaking great players.
Yeah. So anyway, if you're up in New Hampshire, coming in the near future, you might be able to get a guitar lesson or 20.
Man, that's too far to drive once a week.
Yeah, it'd be a little heavy.
Yeah, it's too
you need
far.
to catch a plane to really be there on time and do it the same day. My guitar lesson only cost me $350
a week. Yeah, I'd miss accomplishing days worth of anything.
Yeah. I got you.
But hey, what an honor that would be.
Yeah,
that would be cool, man.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, and I this is funny. Speaking of technology,
yes,
I had this a couple of weeks ago, and we just got too busy, and I forgot to bring it to your attention. So I'll bring it to your attention now.
Okay.
This is. I guess I would consider this either. Well, it was inevitable, or jumping the shark technology, one or the other, and it's from our wonderful people in Meridian, Mississippi. Yeah. See this mixing board right here, son?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now anybody can sound great.
Okay.
Because what do you think's built in?
Auto-tune?
You got it.
Oh.
Now
so
it's
weird.
just all you got to do is buy a mixing board. No outboards. It's all in the mixing board. You all sound like your favorite pop stars.
Well, that's well. I can tell you this. I want to just tell you this. I went and saw Black Sabbath.
Oh, that's right. You did.
Yes. Did you see my coffee mug?
I did.
I have to put this picture up. It was I think it was a thing. It was like a Kickstarter thing or something like that.
It's a IO mug.
Yes, and it's got the Lord Iomi on it, and I think it was for his cancer fund. Cancer.
Oh, cool.
There's
not cool, but cool.
Yeah, and so I gladly bought one. I think they sold out, but it's the coolest mug.
Good. Yeah, it looked great.
And but I actually got to see them, and one of the things I can say that I really is really refreshing. We're outside, and Ozzy doesn't use any in-ears. There's monitors all over the stage, and he doesn't use any help. And when they did Iron Man, me and our good buddy from Pixel Focus Media, Mr. Linthicum, he looked at me and I looked at him, and we were like, "Whoa!" it was bad.
Wow.
But he gets up there every night and he does it, and he tries. You can hear he was trying.
Oh, I'm sure.
And that, though, I would take that every single night of the week over somebody faking it with an auto-tune or a DA, an MP3 or something that is enhancing or tracking or whatever. It was awesome, man.
And
to hear that.
Just think that he actually does that in an era when
it's all right there.
Everybody that needs help, it seems like, just turn on the auto-tune. And we're good to go.
Exactly. Now in the studio, I think he does use some auto-tune because, look, I mean, it's Ozzy. It's been that's a hell of a life, you know.
Right.
And
that stuff lives forever.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. And but live, it was like didn't matter. Everybody was into it,
Cool.
It was one of those things. The only thing that I wish is that they could have ironed things out with Bill Ward. And that I've heard numerous things that Sharon, that she never liked him. There was some confrontation between him and her years ago, and that it's never died. And they were literally paying him less than 5%.
Wow.
And it's like, really? It's Bill Ward,
right? Founding member. One of the founding
members. They're all
members.
still alive,
right? They're all still playing.
And they all still can play.
How do they owe me sound?
It's just amazing to me, what he went through, right? Mm-hmm. And now it's in remission, thank God. And it's rough. I mean, he's almost 70 years old, and this is the last because he says it's rough. Mm-hmm. No matter what kind of accommodations they're given, it's a rough road. To be traveling city to city, doing meet and greets, especially when you can't really afford to get sick. Not for the reason that you might miss the show, is that sick could be bad for you.
Health-wise, you can't afford to get sick,
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but man, he was spot on.
Wow.
Did not miss a beat. Geezer Butler, oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
That guy is an amazing bass player, man. And then the drummer is from Faith No More, and I don't know his name.
Oh, I know who that is. I've seen him.
And it's so weird because he looks like Bill Ward in the 70s.
Wow.
Yeah, because they show footage, and they go back, and you see Bill up there. And it's almost...
Wow, that's a bit weird.
It is kind of scary, man.
That's a bit weird.
Yeah. So, it was one of those things I said, I got to see it, know?
Oh, for sure.
And I know it isn't Bill, but it's still, when you're never going to see Iommi again.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the guy's just going to live out his days and just relax and just stay healthy.
Well, he should. He should.
Yeah.
And, it's hard to stay healthy traveling all the time.
Yeah.
And like I said, even though they have I'm sure they have great accommodations,
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
But still.
Traveling is tough.
And you see pictures on Instagram, he's doing meet and greets. And you're shaking hands, and no matter how much you Purell or whatever you're going to do, you can still catch, you can get a cold. And his immune system took a big shock from all the treatments and everything. So, it takes time, man.
Absolutely.
So, we've got a pretty interesting guest today, man.
Really cool guest.
One of the
really
original guys.
Absolutely.
1987, that's when his album came out, his first album.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, this guy's a game changer too, I mean, because there was a lot of them out there, but he stood the test of time.
86.
Well, Maximum Security, right?
Maximum Security was 87.
Okay, what was the first one?
Edge of Insanity.
Oh, I didn't have that one.
Ah.
Well, look at that.
I just told you something you didn't know.
Well, there you go.
And 3 seconds ago, I didn't know it either.
Good thing we got paper.
That's right. Good old paper. But
yes,
so he's been one of the original guys since 86.
Yeah.
Was he a Shrapnel guy? Do you know?
I think he was under Varney's label, yes.
Probably.
Yeah.
It would make sense at that time in that style.
Varney gave us a lot of people, man.
Yeah,
we ought to have that cat on, even though he's not a musician. Mm-hmm. We ought to have him on one day.
Yeah.
That would be an interesting interview. Because he's everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody that's still doing their thing,
That was a little fledgling that could,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That was pretty cool.
Pat Travers, I think, did a blues album on there because he had a Blues Authority label off of Shrapnel.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know
And
that.
I think Travers did a blues album. I think I have it where he did the whole album with a 12-string.
Wow.
Electric.
Mm-hmm.
And was bending and everything else.
That's pretty different.
Yeah, I'll have to turn you on to that.
Yeah, well, that's a whole different
whole
subject.
Different thing.
And, I mean, our guest today, not a 12-string, but 7 or 8, right?
7 now, used to be 6.
There used to be 6, yeah.
Actually, at one point, there was 88. Well, it's more than 88. Was it 3 per thing? Is that what
I don't know.
We'll have to ask.
Keyboard player. But
yes, exactly.
Yeah, we'll have to ask a keyboard player. But anyway, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back with our great guest for this week, Mr. Tony MacAlpine.
Hi, this is Tom Principato, and you're listening to Amps and Axes, the best damn cast on the pod.
All right, and we are back as promised, as always, with our guest for the week, Mr. Tony MacAlpine. Tony, how are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing?
Doing great, man. Thanks for taking the time to be on with us. This is a great pleasure for us.
Well, thanks for waking me up bright and early. Otherwise, I would have slept right through it. Just at 5 p.m.
Let me tell you, I always have a story.
Okay.
You know me.
Yeah, you got stories.
Back in the day, I was into Satriani, and I had Yngwie Malmsteen, and, I was buying Shrapnel Records like crazy, right?
Nice.
And I got this cassette, and it was Maximum Security.
Oh,
right?
awesome.
And I put this thing in, and at first I'm reading it, and I'm going, so let me get this straight. This guy's a pianist, classically trained, and he plays guitar just as good as he plays piano. And I'm going, well, it's just, I was like, I can't even play the guitar, and he's got both. And I'm like, come on, know. But what I enjoyed about the album, and what I enjoy about his playing is that it's not just shred to shred. Mm-hmm. It's very song written and like composition almost.
Not
like it's
shred for shred's sake.
Yeah, it's not just, hey, check this out, I can do this. It fits the song.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, everybody's got their own approach, and mine wasn't really. Yeah, it wasn't really so much the I guess the physicality of the instruments at all. But I always kind of considered it like electric classical music, as close as I could get. That was my view of it. And having come from that whole genre, of listening to bands like Shell and Pawnee and Di Meola and Return to Forever and all that stuff, I just felt like it was a way for me to express myself musically.
Yeah,
did a pretty good job.
Yeah, just mentioned some of my favorites of all times.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. You know what? I always do this with guests, and I want to take a trip in the Wayback Machine and find out where Mr. Tony MacAlpine was born and raised, and what got you into this music field. I understand you got into it pretty early, so there must have been some music in the family. So give us a little history, man.
Well, I'm from the East Coast of the United States. I'm from Springfield, Massachusetts. And I started studying piano at the age of 5 at the Springfield Conservatory of Music. And I studied there with the director of the conservatory, Marion Jensen, for 12 years. And did a lot of, piano competitions, all on the East Coast, and won those, and won, a scholarship to Hart College of Music, where I studied with Raymond Hansen for another couple of years. And all of that was probably, from the direct exposure of growing up in a pretty musical family. My dad played piano and stuff, and it was because of when I was like 4 or 3, he would play, and I would get on the piano after him and try to copy the notes, that he was playing.
Wow.
I think that process, they discovered that I had perfect pitch. So that was really how it all started.
Nice.
Around the age of 12, I was playing guitar too, a little bit. And I was a little earlier than that, I was playing violin. But I really focused on just the guitar and the keyboards, and that was the things that I felt mostly had a connection to.
That's great. I mean, I don't know that we've had anyone on who started that early.
No, I think he wins the prize for how early.
Music is so powerful when a kid hears it. It's so funny that you got up there and tried to recreate it, man.
Oh yeah, and my dad, he really had some chops, so he was doing a lot of things, but
Did he play professionally?
No, he was a police officer. That's what they. I grew up in a law enforcement family, so that's what they did for. That's what he did for us.
Wow, that's pretty interesting.
That is interesting.
So what pulled you off the piano into stringed instruments?
Well, I think when I was like 8, I got into just listening to classical violin concertos, Mendelssohn and Beethoven, things like that, and just. I thought I would try my hand at the violin, but I wasn't very good at it because my hands are really large, and the violin has a really small fretboard, and it was just very difficult for me to fit this giant mitt into it. So I was kind of like my fingers were just, I think they were just tailor made for the piano and the guitar. So that was the end of the violin.
Nice. Was your Was your first guitar acoustic or electric?
It was an acoustic guitar that my brother gave me, and I learned some licks from him. My brother Chris, my older brother, and then I've got some other guitars. I got all of his secondhand guitars, like the old Tyscos and the old Silvertones and all that stuff. He was giving me all that kind of stuff. Cool. And that's how I got started.
Do you still have them?
No, I don't have them.
No.
I'm definitely not a guitar collector. Yeah, I'm definitely don't even have. I don't even have some guitars that I should have because some of them were stolen. So.
Man, just about everybody we talk to has got a guitar.
Yeah.
Thievery story.
Oh yeah, I'm just on the last tour, the last Concrete Gardens tour. Yeah, 3 of my guitars were stolen.
Huh.
Boy, that really does suck.
Yeah.
And you people out there that steal them, y'all suck.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they sure do.
Yeah.
But, there's some good people out there, and some people have located some of these things for us, and, we've been able to reconnect, and that's been really cool. So
that's
nice.
I know that happened to Steve, too. He lost something, Steve I.
Yeah.
And then they returned it. So that was really pretty cool.
Yeah.
Just they felt guilty.
It's the you can't outrun the interweb nowadays.
No.
I mean, you can't really unload them either. Yeah, that's
right.
the problem.
Yeah, everybody knows what flow is.
Yeah.
Right. Evo and flow. And,
yeah.
You mentioned you got your guitars from your brother. Does your brother still play?
Yes, he does. He does play. He's doesn't do it as a profession, but still has a huge love for it, and as we all do in the family, where music is just something that is goes hand in hand with us personality wise.
That is so cool, man. That is so cool. So what was Tony MacAlpine's first band like?
Well, I would say the first band that I played in that was a band that was playing out was a club band called Lodestar, and it was pretty cool. We opened for Black Sabbath and did different things like that, and that's pretty much the start of. I think I didn't last in the band that long. I think I was in the band for like a couple of years, and then we opened for some different national acts and known bands and international acts and I caught the attention of different people, Mike Varney and John Styx and different people like that, and I was able to sort of migrate out west, and that was it. I didn't really spend a whole lot of time playing in club bands.
Wow. So when
all that training and everything, I mean,
yeah,
you were getting your dues and your chops all those years learning all the piano stuff. And
substantially ahead of the curve.
Very much.
I had a lot of material that I had composed already, and like Edge of Insanity was written before I even did anything with Varney and Billy Shannon and the great Billy Shan and the great Steve Smith. So before any of that was done, I already had all those songs already written. So I was always fairly productive, and I write a lot of tunes in my studio, and pretty much the same way. I think that's cool. Productivity is a good way to keep the keep the river full.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Now,
good.
Well, what I was going to ask is because of your background, do you just write the music without even really picking up the instrument until it's done? Yeah, I mean, like really write it out on staff and then go back and play it, or
no. I mean, when I was playing with Cab, with Dennis Chambers and Bunny Burnell and Patrice in that band, yeah, we wrote everything out because it was jazz charts and different things like that. But my stuff now, Steve Smith was the first drummer that really charted out all the stuff that I wrote. But a lot of the rock guys, they have great ears, and they're just able to really they spent their whole lives learning things from ear. Now it's like kind of how a lot of us got into that whole progressive stuff,
Gotcha.
at that time. So really, I don't do demos. It's once I actually have an idea, I record it for real, and that's it, and it stays that way. I mean, I'm always recording in a studio environment because I could never make the demo. I learned early on I could never make the record sound better than the demo. It never happened. And I was like, I should have put out the little 8-track demo. So then I just said, why don't I just set up, the real studio deal and just get that going? And that's what I've done ever since. So the first time I play it and put the ideas together, that's it. That's the one that ends up in the record.
Holy crap!
That's really now. Is that because you technologically can't get it to sound better, or performance-wise, you think when it comes out, that's when it's the best?
Yeah, I think it's just a performance. It's just an emotional thing. It's an idea, and you put it together and you play it. You just really want to get your most intimate, relationship with this thing that you're trying to create. When you go out and do live shows, it's a completely different thing. There's energy level, there's audience there, so that's not really the concern. I mean, I can always play it, but it just doesn't feel the same to me.
Huh.
Holy crap!
That's pretty cool.
That is amazing.
Yeah, and I don't know if a lot of people say that, but I think a lot of people probably do feel that way. And sometimes they're probably in the studio and they do 6 different takes or something, and you wind up at least taking parts of the first one that you do, because it's a lot of times just the best.
Well, what I think is interesting is because of your background and all. You're not one of these guys that it has to be, and it always comes across that way, but it's like you're not like some crazy perfectionist that has to go over and over and over until it's like, so polished. But yet, when I hear these recordings, I'm going, it's just amazing.
They're just like perfect out of the gate.
Yeah, it's like so crazy.
We don't need 12 takes.
It's pretty cool, man. I mean, I think most of these guys that even... at your level, I think some of them really do kind of overkill it in the studio.
Well, there's so many really amazing players, especially like Jeff Loomis and, these guys that are really, good friends and Tosin and these players today. And I think that's kind of, wearing off, like, now to, I think it was more prevalent, I think, in the 80s and stuff, in the 90s. I think that we were forced really to make things, as perfect as they could be, and then you go and hear a live band and it doesn't really sound like that,
Yeah.
But that's essentially what I'm saying anyway with my whole approach with recording, because it's not really about, I'm not afraid of mistakes or anything. I've recorded records with mistakes on them. I mean, because it gives just things like a certain character. I mean, Eric Clapton always said that. It gives things a character. It gives them something that, is rather unique. And then you go and you try to learn the mistakes, and you find like you can't do it, and you end up playing things perfectly. So it's like, it's all about, there's some things obviously that I think rhythm parts and different things with tracks, can always be an issue. But I think the most important aspect of any kind of recording is the central location of the sound, and that would be the drums. I mean, that's just the most important thing, because without, the house, the foundation, and everything else really isn't going to matter. So, music is really united by rhythm. And was really my first instrument, was a percussive instrument, was the piano. So I have just a good understanding of rhythm, but I don't think really I torture myself for like really in the studio. And the other thing is the beauty of really, I think I tried to stress this when I was teaching a bit to players. There's nothing really wrong with not being motivated enough to play. You know what I'm trying to say?
Not being motivated enough.
Yeah, if you're trying to compose something and it doesn't happen, on a Saturday, it might happen on a Monday, it might happen on Tuesday or whatever, it might happen next month. But the difference is when you're contracted to go like into a studio like we used to do, and you had to get something done. Oftentimes it wasn't really a very musical path. It wasn't a very artistic path. Today it's a lot easier to approach it as if it's very artistic, and you're not driven to really get it. So you have better chances of really recording something that you're really close to heart with, rather than you did it because you guys are running out of budget.
Makes sense, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, some people were good under pressure, and some people it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen.
Now, one of the things that I wanted to bring up, because this was one of the big things that really I noticed with Tony, was he was the first shred guy, if we want to put him in that category, that was a Carvin endorser back in the day. And I had my carving, so I was like, well, this is pretty cool, because most of those guys, you never saw anybody that was in that camp. They were all, now he's an Ibanez guy now. Mm-hmm. But, most of those guys were Ibanez guys, right? The Satrianis, Steve Vais, and all those, yeah. And here's Tony, and he's playing a carving. And I was like, this is too cool. Here's one of these guys,
The Carvins were later, though. I mean, early on, I was recording with the BC Rich guitars.
Ah, okay.
And I had used those for quite a long time. And Bernie made me some custom guitars, that we used on Maximum Security. And they were called Mason Bernard, which is with his father. And
very cool.
Yeah, and I got into the Carvins later on. That was, much later on. But they're pretty cool. I think everybody so many of these companies really, really put out such an amazing product. And the wonderful thing about Ibanez is that, they're so close to where I live here that I can just keep going by and bothering them all the time about different things that they should make. And we have a good relationship. And, they're such a great company.
And we interviewed one of your rhythm guitar players, or, well, I don't even know, what would you classify Neely? I get we interviewed her, and she's another Ibanez endorser.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and an amazing player too.
Absolutely, yeah. Her stuff is just incredible. She's got her eye on a lot of really cool, innovative things, and she's just a very talented player.
Yeah, was she one of the ones that just writes? Just writes out the music without playing it. Was she
that was Gretchen.
Oh, was that Gretchen?
Gretchen,
okay, that was Gretchen.
She writes the music. She sits at her kitchen table and writes all of her music out.
Yeah.
God.
Without playing.
Where did she eat dinner in the studio?
Probably. Yeah, she looks like she doesn't eat dinner.
No. She a lot of yoga and probably a lot of vegetables.
Probably.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir.
So, okay, so you moved out to the left coast when you caught the ear of Varney. When was that?
That was in 1983.
83.
Yeah, and then he featured me in a column, like the Spotlight column,
mm-hmm.
and subsequently after that, I was featured in pretty close to that, a lot of different those magazines with those different column type things, like Guitar World and that type of thing. And I went out there and developed the songs with Steve Smith, and we just really started putting things together. And then we called in Billy Sheehan. I mean, the record was done in 3 days. So
holy crap!
Oh my God!
3 days?
Yeah, we did the record. I mean, all the physical part of it. Yeah, we tracked the drums in one day. We tracked the bass the next day, and we did the guitars the next day because it was just a trio.
Oh my God!
Wow. Yeah, just a trio. So we figured 3 days was enough. God!
Mike at that time, and anybody will tell you this, Paul Gilbert and Vinnie Moore and all these guys are, Mike always had these incredible productions going on, at Prairie Sun and various studios, around Northern California. And, you'd go there and you'd just meet all of these guys. And these guys, one group would be in pre-production, the other guys would be in rehearsal, the other guys would be tracking. And he just really was pumping it out, It was really amazing. It was such a great opportunity to meet all those cool players back then, too.
Yeah, I mean, to do that in 3 days, you must have been pretty well rehearsed, and everything was, etched in stone by that point, I would think.
Well, I would say that Steve Smith and I completely had a handle on the material, yeah. Billy came in, he was playing with David Lee Roth, and he was just incredible because, he had to listen and then pull it off that way. And Billy's really good at doing that, listening to these things and he didn't have the advantage of the rehearsals that we had. But
wow.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
And, so you were there with Cacophony and so you had Becker and Friedman. They were there, of course, Greg Howe. And
no, I didn't meet Greg Howe in the studio at all, and I didn't see Cacophony. Jason Becker did come to my house in San Rafael, and I didn't know who he was. I was like, "Who's this guy?" It was like Jason Becker, and then this was a long time ago, And shortly after that, I found out who he was.
So did everybody else.
Yeah, Peter Biden was like, "Wow, just unbelievable, super guy, even to this day." But no, I didn't know Greg until a little bit later on. And he just was one of my favorite players also. I mean, the guys that I knew, I did a lot of Vinnie Moore records. I played keyboards on a lot of his records.
Really? Oh, wow.
I worked with, Tony Franklin and all those guys, and Dean, and on different stuff. We did all these different tribute records for Mike Varney, and I signed with Polygram with Cliff Bernstein's label there, Squawk, and I was doing other things with other kinds of players and different styles of music, and some of my own instrumental stuff and some stuff that's never come out. But and then I played all the time. I was always playing and touring and doing clinics and stuff, and that kind of keeps you out of the the local club scene. So you don't really get a chance to cross paths with a lot of these players. But Greg was just totally amazing. Just seeing him play, and I think I ran into Greg the first time at an AM show. Sure, that's the first time I ever saw him. And I met Michelangelo, and we went to Germany together and did these guitar music messa live clinics for Washburn guitars, and that was a lot of fun. It was just so many really really nice guys, so many cool people out there. Yeah,
we've interviewed Greg and Michael.
Yeah.
And Michael, Greg is an awesome guy, but Michael was like, he's like a fan of ours. And I'm like, he's just a salt of the earth kind of guy, man. And he blazes. Yeah. This guy's like faster than a machine.
Yeah, and he can't decide which hand he wants to play with. Wish we all had that problem.
Right. Pick a hand, damn it. Okay, back into the Varney Studios and playing out. Was your did you use the same rig in the studio as you did live, or was it something where you just walk into the studio and there was always so much going on you could just plug into what they had there because it was already set to do the job? What was your recording process like then?
Well, it was an amazing studio. The engineer that I worked with, Steve Fontiano, and I did just a number of records together later on over the years. Just a phenomenal player, he's won a Grammy with Santana, and just an amazing engineer. And Muka Grinick is also, the studio owner, and he's a great engineer. So these guys really had they had their head wrapped around sound. They really understood, the whole physical idea of trying to make it happen, and they were really able to work with what you had. And the stuff that I was using back then, in the beginning, I was using PV classic heads, which they didn't have. They weren't selling them, but I had these heads. I had 5 of them, and they only made the the PV 212s. But these were just the heads alone, and I used to run these through 412 bottoms, and that's how I got my sound, really on the edge of insanity. That was really what it was. Just a lot of different. They were noisy amps, of course. They had a lot of pre-gain stage, but I liked it at that time, and that was what I was using. That's what I was using when I was playing, on the the East Coast, opening for other bands, and that's what I was using with Lodestar. I was using those amps, and used them for quite a while until I discovered Hughes and Kettner amps, and that's where I've been ever since. Been with them, but it was a really very simple process. They didn't really kill you with trying to make these things sound great. They just really had a knack on really understanding how to make these guitars sound like there was 1,000 stacks in the forest. They just really knew how to really crank this stuff up, and it was really amazing. Really.
That's it's a good engineer is worth his weight in gold, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because it for them to make it a painless process really allows you just to focus and concentrate on being creative. You don't have to be bogged down with you should have this, you should have that.
Exactly.
So.
No, and it also allows you to remain comfortable with the gear that you're used to. You maybe play slightly differently with comfortable gear as you do with gear that you're not familiar with. Although, sometimes that triggers something different and something cool. But to go into the studio and to be allowed to be comfortable, and then the engineers just turn around and get a great sound out of it. I'm sure it sounded great in a live situation to your ear, but a lot of times that doesn't, transfer to tape very well. But
exactly.
For these guys to go in and just be able to take it and go, all right, we're going to make you sound great on tape too. I mean, that's priceless, man.
Yeah, and we were just recording. Recording 24 track records in the beginning, and then I think by the time we did at least with Edge of Insanity, that's what we did. It was just a Trident board and a Studer machine. But by the time we did, Maximum Security, we were using 48, and we tracked at Fantasy, and they used an SSL to track to get the sound, and then we went back to Prairie Sun to use the the Tridents because they wanted that English sound. Yeah, they really knew what they were doing. It was really amazing. I wish I had paid attention more. I would have been a much better engineer than I am now. Not the hack that I am, but I just was really hanging out there just trying to get it done.
I think you had
I should have used it as a lesson. Also in engineering.
I think you had to focus on your job of being a guitar player. But there's always so much you can do, man.
And did you produce your latest album?
Yes, I did. I produced.
Well, you did a good job.
Thank you very much.
I can tell you that.
Thank you very much. The latest record, we used my drummer now, Achilles Priester, who's he's a great Brazilian drummer, and we cut the drums down there, and just came back here and just did the rest of the stuff that their surrounding things and the guest players and so forth. But it's an amazing thing. Thank you very much for saying I did a good job. It's nice to hear.
It's a really good album.
It's a tough position to be in. Thank you. But because you kind of don't want to have your hand in everything because people go, "Oh, this record sucks because you're a lousy engineer or a lousy producer." You never know, so you kind of want to stay away from that. But with the next record that I'm working on now, I'm working with Adair Duffenbach, who actually engineered the last record, but he's going to produce this next record because I really want to get to. I want to get to a relation where. I feel like I'm coming from a completely different place because I've been doing these records the same way for so long, and I really want to try something different. And I had so much fun really working with him. He was like really the only engineer that when the record was recorded and he did some mixes that I really had nothing really to say. Usually it's like, hey, bring that down, put this up, put that down. This is the melody. That's what he didn't have to explain anything like that. So he really understood the whole concept of what it is, and he's such a great engineer. And I think I'd like to record like that, that fashion, and just have a more of an open mind, I think, in terms of, bouncing ideas off of people.
Yeah, that makes it a little bit easier when you're not sweating over, where you're dealing with somebody that's just like waiting for your command.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and a lot of times I think, I've noticed that people that haven't worked with me before, had the idea that I was, this has to be played like that, and that, that's not really, what I was about ever. I mean, because let's face it, I'm not a drummer, so I would be like tapping on this drum machine and sometimes not even quantizing it, and these guys would, come in and recreate that, and that's not really what I wanted. But over the years, I learned after, with working, obviously with Steve and Dean Castronovo and, Atma Noor and Dennis Chambers, that they just take this to a completely different level, and that's really, 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 really what I like. But I like, there's another thing that I was talking about with Adair is that, after you've played a song or a few songs off a record, or maybe the entire record, which we've done, it has a completely different meaning and a completely different, connection with you after you performed it live in front of people. And it would be nice to be able to have something that you've never recorded and go out there and play it live and then record it like that, then record it after you have a great understanding of it. It's more of an ensemble approach, which we don't really get a chance to do because if you went out and tried to play a night of music that nobody's heard, I don't think anybody would really come. But it's like,
well, I think some bands that maybe still do that, it won't be a whole night of it. There'll be one or two.
It's like a comedian.
Songs you've never heard before.
A comedian will do that. They'll throw out a new joke.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's true.
We'll test.
But then you've got to be touring for a while to do that.
Sure.
It's true.
Some of these guys, if they're on the road for 2 years, at some point there'll be a whole album of songs thrown out there, occasionally, and you're probably writing on the road. Yeah. But it takes a while to do that.
Yeah, I was never able to write on the road. That's funny. I could never do that.
Wow.
No,
that's pretty well.
Not my thing. It was just so much to do in terms of trying to make the show, reach a level that we thought we could reach, and I just always felt so different when I think because I write organically. I think I just write in a write like 5 or 6 or 7 things at the same time. I don't really sit down and go, okay, now I'm going to write the ballad, and now I'm going to write this. It's really a process of me just coming back to my environment and trying to just be creative all over again.
Wow. Yeah, just I guess it's a different zone that you need to be in headwise.
Yeah.
Outside of touring.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. It's and although touring is much easier today, than it was, before. I mean, it's so much easier to go play in another country and come back and then continue playing, doing whatever you were doing. It was difficult, in the beginning. It was tougher, and you had to, go. If there might have been aspects of touring that a lot of times, an individual might not be used to, and that's another thing I always tried to stress to players when I was doing clinics and stuff. That I always thought like the most important place to be, when you are a musician is the learning stage, because it's at that point in time that you can really focus on what you think you're going to say, in such a competitive business, and it's really important to try to have something unique to say, rather than just to have something that's a byproduct of what somebody else has done, and you can really understand that if you kind of almost live in a bubble a little bit, just don't listen to too much stuff, but just be aware of what's out there. And it's really hard to do that aspect of it. It's harder to do today because, we have music everywhere now, on in every medium, they use YouTube and just every, your phones and everything you can think of, and everybody's got this file and got that file.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. Back then, we didn't have that, you just had to go to the, Strawberry's record store and find the actual record and order, man. Wait for it. And so it's a completely different thing. But the aspect of playing around the world is a little easier nowadays.
Well, I mean, hell, you can record on your phone now.
Oh, yeah.
It's like
really good, too.
Yeah. So touring-wise, you say it's easier nowadays. What do you take with you? I'm assuming, because most people don't take full backline anymore, that you don't take backline when you're in touring in different countries.
No.
So what's your what's the meat and potatoes that Tony has to have with him when he goes on tour in another country?
Well, it's like this. It's like, I'll tell you, it starts like this. When I'm in the studio, right, I use these amps called triamps, Hughes and Kettner triamps, and I use those. And then when I go play live, I use these core blade amps, which are just amazing. The Hughes and Kettner core blades, and Hughes and Kettner provides that amp in a lot of different places that I go to. Usually when we go to Europe, we just pick them up somewhere like, in England or something, and then we travel all around the place and we bring them with us. But what makes these amps great is everything is built into the head, the effects, the delay, everything, everything you want, and it's downloadable to a stick or a computer or whatever. So if one amp faults, you got the other one ready to go. If you have to go to another location, you just provide the amp, you show up, stick the memory stick in there, and download the show.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and I've never been a huge pedal board guy or lots of refrigerator-sized racks of gear. I just was very simple with the sound, and so that helps me with keeping it together. So it's a really simple setup. I used two 12 cabinets on stage and 2 of those heads.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So I was going to say, so it's safe to say that you don't know John Petrucci.
Oh, yeah. I know. Yeah.
It's a little bit on the opposite side of the tracks there.
I was going to say, back in the day when you could fill a semi and you could go do your thing,
right.
It was like 4 21U racks. And the other day I saw something, he goes, yeah, I've pared it down a lot. And I was like, there's still 2 of those on stage.
Yeah, it's amazing. It really is. And I play in a pop gig also in France with Michel Polnareff, a famous French singer from the 60s and the 70s, and he's still packing them in. It's just amazing guy, amazing musical lover. And there's another guitar player I play with, Pete Thorne. And he's like, we're on the complete opposite side because, he's one of those guys. He has the largest pedal board I think I've ever seen in my life. I mean, there's so much stuff on there. I'm like, how do you got to get a license to, like an airline. It's like a cockpit of an airplane. See it. It's like I can't. And he can change his effects and stuff on his phone, and he's doing all this crazy stuff. And I got a volume pedal, a wah pedal, and I think Just
an amp head.
Controller for the head. That's about it.
Well, we interviewed
crazy.
Pete too.
Oh, yeah.
And
he's a great guy.
He's a great guy and an amazing player. And that's so funny that you say that because it's...
well, that's because everybody throws all his gear in front of him, and I guess he figures, well, I got to have it all.
That's what he does on his days off, his gear demos. So.
Right.
Yeah, and he brings these, like the pedal that he has now, he goes, well, this is the smaller size pedal board. I'm like, really? Oh my, this is amazing. So I hate to see you need your own separate stage to put the large size. I understand it.
It's like the Eric Johnson size pedal board, the 4x8 sheet of plywood,
Yeah.
But it only has 6 effects on it.
Exactly.
But they have to be in strategic locations.
Yeah, it's true. That's true. And Steve Vai, he always had these really incredible, innovative stuff,
Yeah.
In terms of, like effects. This one goes to the drive of the head. This one goes to the second tube. This one goes... It's too much for me to figure out.
It's funny. I saw the Premier Guitar tour of his studio.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they do 2 different ones. They do one where they do all the guitars.
Yeah.
Right? And then they do... And his amps and everything and how he did this stuff. But then they do one with his mixing board. That it must cost as much as his house because it was all custom made.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And like all the preamps and everything. And these are like rebuilds, not rebuilds. They're actual fresh construction of what would have been like in the 70s or And I'm thinking to myself, these modules must be like $10,000 a piece.
He's probably got an open account with Vintage King Audio out there on the left coast.
And I'm just like, okay, it sounds, it sounds really good.
Sounds good coming through my earbuds.
I know. That's the thing.
That's the irony of it.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing. Steve is just he's an incredible audiophile and an incredible, sound man.
It's Steve Vai.
He really got it down. When I played with him in the band, he'd always come in and dial in my amp, and it used to sound like this. And he's like changing these buttons and everything. And it was really amazing how he could get all those guitar players, because there was like 4 of us on stage. There was Billy, Dave Weiner, myself, and Steve.
Oh, man.
And we were just all up there, just like, getting paid for the notes. I mean, pulling off some of his stuff, which was just incredible. Night after night,
Yeah.
we had to do that stuff with him, and it was just really so much of a fun thing because he was such a great guy, But he was really quite funny. He's like, "Well, play this part on the guitar," and I'm like, "Okay, I got it. Now play this part on the keyboard." "Okay, I got that." "No, at the same time." It's crazy.
Now you played the Crossroads Festival, right? With him? Were you in that?
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
I remember that because there's a video out there where they're all going at it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they're
how did I miss that?
And they're trading licks.
I have all the Crossroads stuff. How did I miss that?
You can see it on YouTube.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know.
And I thought that's what it was, but that was part of a tour that you guys were doing, though, right? It wasn't just.
Yeah, no, we were on tour, but we stopped in and did that festival.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That day. Yeah, I remember that. That was some time ago. And it was good to see some of the old guys I used to know back in, the 80s and 90s up in, the San Francisco neighbors, Neil Sean and Randy Jackson and all those guys. I hadn't seen those guys in a long, long time. So it was really cool to see those guys at that festival too, at that show. So
nice.
Yeah, it was cool. Nice. Very cool.
Who was playing drums in that tour?
For Steve?
Well, whatever tour you were on that you stopped at Crossroads with.
That was Steve Vai's tour. So it was.
Okay.
Jeremy Colson.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a Steve Vai, right? That we did.
No slouches in that camp.
No, not at all.
Now,
well, I mean, Tony's played with no slouches either.
Exactly.
I mean, Chambers is a machine.
Oh yeah.
And Portnoy.
Yeah.
Mike's just incredible. Yes, I mean, and Tommy Aldridge and just being able to, one of the great things is being able to play with all these musicians, and they're wonderful friends, and it's really, it's really a great thing just being able to know them on a different, on a different level, because it really changes, the way that you interact, really. And Mike Portnoy just well, to be able to, when we did the PSMS stuff, and to be able to pull that off, and you get an opportunity to experience all the different flavors of what makes these people great. Otherwise, you wouldn't know it just by listening to a record, but you know it when you play. On a stage with them, it's really something. It's a special thing. I think I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, and I think Portnoy and Sheehan have played together so much that they got to be like just a really great rhythm section together.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
they know each other.
You hear it a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mike really, he knows like a lot of the the inner workings of how these things should sound, to pull them off. And it was funny when we were doing the rehearsals. And, he was trying to remember some of the things that we were going to be doing. And I'd be like, no, that bar's a 7/4 bar. That bar's... And he goes, I can't believe it. He's telling me what the times are of these tunes. He goes, he really knows the other parts. And I go, well, yeah, I just, when I learn them, I learn every aspect of the song. So I think we got along famously that way.
He's a guitar player. He's not supposed to know timing.
Well, Mike can't even walk out of time.
I know, it's just amazing.
Oh, that is. Do you ever do you ever wake up one day and go, look at all these guys' numbers that I have? I could call up, Steve Vai right now if I needed to. I mean, I know that, who are your heroes? Are these your heroes? Because, I mean, you're like one of those guys.
Right. He is one of those. Right.
So,
well, I mean, like I said, it's important to stress that with George Lynch and all of these guys, like, Warren DeMartini, if I would happen to see him one day, these guys were, they were friends and some are friends. You know what I mean? It was, I used to go out and, have, beers and stuff with George and stuff, talk about just like things like life, and which was a growing point for me in my life because these guys were so established when I got into the business. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying they were older. I'm just saying that they just went down a completely different road, and you learn a lot from that. And those are the things that you sit down and you talk about, and those are the things that you don't really forget. Like when you see Steve Lukather, and I remember touring with him in Europe and touring with him in Holland and opening for his band. It's just. Those are just special moments, and yeah, they're all my heroes, because they committed to the cause of saying, this is something we're going to do for the love of it, and we're lucky enough, those of us that went to a music school, like Steve did, and you actually are doing something that you went to school for, that's an important thing. It's a special thing, I think, because no matter how tough it was, you didn't fall off the rails. You stayed on it, through the mighty thin times, and believe me, there were a lot of thin times.
Yeah, I'm sure. And that was another question I was going to ask during those grunge years, and when it was not fashionable to play a solo.
Yeah,
what were you doing? Because literally, I was searching, and this is before, I guess it would have been right at the beginning of the internet, but, and there wasn't a whole ton of information, but I was searching, where is Greg Howe? What is he doing right now? And what were you doing during those lean years? Were you just picking up gigs with other bands, or how was that working?
No, I was still touring. I was still touring. I've always been, I would be in Japan, or I'd be in Europe concentrating on playing, and I was always playing. I mean, I think there was always an audience that is gonna come out. That's not really a mainstream audience. So it doesn't really depend on that. There's always the people that want to go out and hear something that they consider to be different or cult or however they say that what it might be. And so, I mean, we were lucky enough that we didn't depend on it. But also, I played in so many different bands simultaneously because I was playing in Planet X. I was playing, with Virgil Donati, another great drummer, and Derek Sherinian, and I was playing with Cab, and I was doing my instrumental stuff, and then.
So it was a lot of overseas stuff because, and
I was playing with Steve for 4 or 5 years, and all kinds of things going on.
Yeah, see, we always have this conversation that, America is so 5 minutes. Everything is 5 minutes, the new thing. that, over in Europe and Japan and all, this stuff has longevity.
Right.
Like these fans are fans. They're not just, hey, I'm your fan this week because you wrote this cool tune. It's, I'm a Tony MacAlpine fan.
Yeah,
and that means for the next 20
love
years.
Them for that, because that's the truth. That's really how it is. I mean, and there's and we have those here. They're here too. And
sure.
It's amazing. And it's a definitely a bonding thing, and it definitely gives you a spirit to stay to the cause.
Yeah.
And keep doing what people really want. From you, because it's important. Because they. If you go to a steak restaurant, you want to get steak. You don't want to get sushi. It's a very important thing to be able to just be driven down the road and provide something that people really love and respect. It's touching.
Yeah. He's playing for fans that never really cared for flannel.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Or if they did, they did. You know what I mean? It was they could embrace it all over the place. It was like I was saying on last week's show. Airborne can go to the Download Festival and they'll have 80,000 people literally, just rocking out. Yeah. But yet they're going to play not even 20 miles from where we're recording this, and the room holds 700 people.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, if that.
Yeah, and it's like, they're a high energy rock and roll band. It's like, this new version of AC/DC. Mm-hmm. And I'm going, so what's... it's mind-boggling. It's like in Germany, they're the hottest thing.
Why aren't they in an arena?
Yeah, but right. Here, it's almost like, who? And it's like, we try to educate our listeners, like, hey, there's so much more than what you hear on a dial,
Absolutely. Absolutely, yeah.
And you got to you may have to search for it, but it's out there. And like Tony, I mean, you've put out some great solo albums, man, and I mean, your instrumental stuff is... It's really good. It's not just, hey, look how fast I can play, everybody.
Right.
It's actually
melodic.
Yeah, it's very written out and very thought out. You know, and that's what's nice.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I try to instill that in my compositions. I've always been driven to music that you can retain something when you walk away. And you're not like assaulted, what you're hearing.
Right.
I don't mind being assaulted too. It's fun.
You need that every once in a while. You do.
Exactly.
Now, Tony, are you getting ready to go back out again?
Yes, I am. You mean for my solo band? Yes. We're gonna go out and do some shows in October.
Nice.
We're gonna do we do a really cool show at the Potato at Studio City. We start out there, and it's just have so much fun playing there. And then we're gonna do some shows with Steve Vai, in October.
Can't go wrong there.
Opening the show for him, and then I have some solo shows, after that. And then in November and actually, like in September 8th or something, September 5th or 4th, I have to go back to, I'll be going back to France to do some shows with Michelle, and then I come back and do these shows in October, and then after that I'm back in Europe again, and then I'm back again in the following year to concentrate with a lot of solo shows.
Awesome.
Wow.
Now, when are they going to make a signature model for you? When is it?
We've been talking about it. I just think, you really have to, for me, I really want to bring something different to, there are some things that I think now that I'd like to, feature on a guitar. But I think before I didn't really have anything. To me, it's almost like reinventing the wheel. You're not really going to do it. There's so many cool guitars out there. But I think that now I have something that I'd like to, I find myself incorporating when I'm playing live. So there are things that I probably would bring to an autograph guitar level, a signature guitar level.
Well, they need to, because you're one of those guys. You're one of the original guys, and they, come on.
For sure.
I mean,
for sure.
It's got to happen.
Yeah, hopefully. I appreciate that. But we'll see how it goes. Well, we're in talks with that now. We're trying to get something together, and
good.
I think it's going to be pretty cool.
Good. You've you got a lot of touring coming up. I got to ask you, how are you feeling?
Oh, I feel great. Health-wise, I'm totally fine.
Awesome.
It took a year, I guess. It's like on my birthday, last August 29th, and I had to have surgery to remove some areas in my intestines that had cancer. So
wow.
they caught it early, but
oh, good.
But they didn't get it early in terms of it, spreading to other, areas, and so that's always the concern, and so that's what I got the treatment for. It's being treated mainly for that it went to some other lymph nodes and different things, and it's very important to have early diagnosis of whatever the condition is, and that's really the main cause. The type of thing that I had was they considered a colon cancer, but it didn't have the traditional symptoms that I would have known. And I ride motorcycles all the time, since I was child, and I still ride, and I'm still a child. But
Good.
I was in an accident. I've been in so many accidents, but I was in an accident. If I wasn't in that accident,
they would have never found it, huh?
They wouldn't have found it. It's because we went there and they did an MRI and they said, well, everything looks good in terms of the accident, but there's some little area right here, and that's really how we got onto it. And I suppose had I not had that accident,
wow,
it would have been pretty bad. But it was a tough situation. My wife Begonia, she had we both were diagnosed with cancer at the same time.
Oh my God!
She had breast cancer and I had this colon cancer, but she's fine now. I'm fine now, and all my tests are totally fine. And I'm just living a straight course, in terms of health as much as I can. I still eat the occasional hamburger, but we can't cure all our vices.
No, I'm all about anything in moderation. If someday you got to have a hamburger, well, have the hamburger. But
that's great
don't
news.
Have 6 a day.
That's great news.
That's
that everything's
awesome,
man.
I really there is so much support.
Yeah.
By so many of the people that have come together, and so many of my colleagues and so many of the players and so many of the wonderful fans that came together for the benefit that we had, and which was just an amazing thing because just being able to have that support and that love really is a positive factor of being able to overcome so many of these things, because these things were these illnesses that we had were very dangerous.
Oh yeah,
sure.
And I think really you have these things, it really puts you into a perspective of like what's really important in life. And
absolutely,
yeah. And so being productive is important, and staying together, and and just being as positive as you can. And we want to give back, to all the people that have given so much their time and love to us, that we feel we're definitely going to be able to do that with the new record and the tour. So
that's awesome. And positivity has a lot to do with a lot of things, including healing. And the love that people put out to you, that really does help. It really does.
It really does. It's really an amazing thing. I wasn't able to come to the benefit, but I saw the tapes, the videos and stuff of it. And it was just amazing. Just all those guys that I know so well, just playing so amazingly, and and for the cause of what they were doing, it's very touching and very moving. So, and I was pretty ill at that time, but I was considering coming, but it wouldn't have been a good thing.
Wow.
Well, you know what? And the way to help with everything else is just go out there, get this new album, Concrete Graveyards.
Yes.
His latest album, which we will put. We'll have a link on the show to your website.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that will live in
perpetuity.
Yeah.
That's right. And when it goes into the archives, make sure you guys go visit.
Concrete Gardens.
Yes. And I'm telling you, if what'd I say?
Concrete Graveyards.
Did I say graveyards?
Yeah.
What is wrong with me?
I don't know. What the hell?
Well,
there is a lot of concrete in graveyards, but actually it's marble.
Maybe it's the onset dementia that I'm starting to... I don't know. Anyway, it's so God almighty.
Wait, hang on. Stop right there.
Okay.
Tony, you say it.
Okay, the new record is Concrete Gardens.
There you go. Concrete Gardens.
I apologize. Yeah, see, this is what the problem is when I don't get enough sleep.
We all have that eventually.
And I have the album. That's the problem.
Oh, my God.
I know.
It must have been all the health talk,
Actually, you know what it is, Tony, is that our listeners know exactly why I just said that, because I always screw up most everything. So this is just a Wednesday.
It's all good.
But definitely go check his stuff out. If you haven't heard him, if you don't have any of his stuff, I guarantee you'll like it. And there's plenty of it out there. And if you ever get a chance to check him out live, you got to do it, because he handles the 7-string like a monster.
Absolutely.
8-string too.
What was that?
I play 8-string also.
I thought I saw an 8-string on one of the videos.
He snuck that one in.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It's love that instrument. It's really an incredible thing. I mean, where these guitars and stuff are today, it's totally just amazing. It's unbelievable.
Multi-scale. What is it? Multi-scale? Is it multi-scale? No, it's
Well, you can really, so many of these different players, they have their own unique ways of stringing and tuning, which is wonderful too,
Yeah.
But mine is, I know like with some of the 8 strings, some of the guys put them down to a lower E, but mine's, tuned really just pretty much just an extended range,
Standard.
6, and the other string goes down to B, the other one goes down to, the D4 below that, so really just the same.
Yeah, and I did see a video when I was prepping for this where he was playing the 8-string single-handedly, because the other hand was on the keyboards.
Well, that's what Steve Vai wanted, so...
Exactly.
Yeah, if it wasn't for Steve, I would have never got into that.
Good thing you never played with Jason, because you'd be doing tricks with the yo-yo. See?
Yeah, I know. Just incredible. Really incredible stuff.
Next somebody's going to want him to play drums with his feet, at the same time.
And put out a fire with one hand.
There you go, right. And you know what? He'll do it. He'll do it.
I'll give it a shot.
There you go. Well, Tony, thank you so very much for taking the time.
Yes,
and, we tried to schedule this for a while, I think, but it finally worked out. And,
thank you very much for having me
in a very timely manner.
And it's to come back, again in the future and
man,
catch up with you guys and talk about all this good stuff. It's just so much fun.
Absolutely. Yeah. Any? Do you know if there is any East Coast dates in the itinerary for anything?
Not yet. No, not yet. With the shows that we're doing now are concentrating on the West Coast, but there will be. Yeah, we're going to be going across the U.S.
Well, I've got Mike's number. Mike is your guy, so I'll make sure that we keep in contact with him, and if it happens, then maybe we'll be able to get to actually shake hands.
Yeah, there you go.
Awesome.
That would be awesome.
Definitely.
And it's
cool.
Concrete Gardens.
That's right.
Concrete Gardens. Are you guys making it out to the NAMM show this year?
That's up in the air for me yet. I just did summer. Not sure if I'm going to display amps at Winter NAMM, but we'll see.
If we do, we will be broadcasting. We'll be doing some stuff right there.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Let us know. We'd love to come by and say hi to you guys.
Absolutely. That'd be awesome.
Man.
That'd be awesome.
All right.
Cool, Tony. Well, thank you so very much again. Have a great rest of the day. Hey, thanks for getting up early.
Hey, I'm going back to bed now.
There you go. All right. Thank you so much.
Right.
Stay in great health, safe travels, and we'll talk again soon.
All right. Thank you.
Take
See
care,
you
man.
guys.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye. And there you have the story.
Yeah, man. I was gushing on that one, wasn't
I? You were, but that's good. And you know what? He says he's healthy and everything, and it's fantastic. But he sounded happy and perky right out of the gate, man.
Yeah.
And I know he told us he just got up, and it's like he sounds good. I'm glad things are good for him. I'm glad things are good for his wife. I mean, Jesus, man, what a double whammy.
On his birthday.
On his freaking birthday.
Yeah. I'm telling you,
wow.
This is a guy that is on that plane that, that upper level, the Steve Lukethers, the Steve Vais, the Mike Portnoys, all those guys. I mean, those guys, that's the cream. That is the absolute top echelon.
And you're playing with Sheen, you're playing with Chambers, you're playing,
Sherinian, Jeff Loomis, and guys like that. These guys are, you can't throw anything at them that they can't that they can't complete.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's how well-rounded they are. And you hear what he says. He plays with these pop artists, and he does this instrumental thing, and then he goes out with Vi, and he's playing side by side with Pete Thorne. How insane is that?
Yeah.
You know, and Pete Thorne is like this other school, and they mesh together.
And you know,
it's
like
crazy,
you're talking about the caliber of these people. Like, you know, when they did the album in 3 days.
3 days.
And one day for bass tracks, and Sheehan never rehearsed with him.
No, he just, and here's the thing. Sheehan doesn't know how to read music.
Yeah.
He's not that guy. Mm-hmm. He's the kind of guy that has to hear it. So he heard it and played it. And
an album's worth in one day.
And in one day.
It's like that. That's the caliber of those kind of people. It's just ridiculous.
These guys, that's why they're, you know who they are.
Yeah.
You know,
and if you don't, you should.
Yeah. And you should definitely check out Tony's stuff. It may not be for everybody because it is kind of neoclassical, but you can definitely appreciate what he does.
There's a large enough neoclassical audience out there.
Yeah.
There is.
Yeah. and you know what? Like I said, here's the thing, and I'm not putting down Yngwie because Yngwie is Yngwie. I mean, he's
kind of the godfather of
a vibrato that's absolutely insane. Now, Yngwie is, you know, I don't know what his writing process is, but you can tell that he's just flying on a lot of stuff. You know, he just has all these patterns that are the way that he does his thing, and the arpeggios and all. This is composition. This is This is written out. Right. You know, he gets it, and then he polishes it, and then it's done.
And then it's done, and then he's
on the demo.
And then and then he goes on to an entirely different project.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
So very awesome, man.
Totally.
And I'm so glad, you know, he's in good health, so we could actually talk to him, because I was like, if we got to have one guy, Tony's got to be one of those guys.
He's got to be on. Yeah.
Yeah. So
and he was. So
awesome.
There you go.
So until next time, my friend.
Damn right, because we got some stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, we do.
I am Mick Marcelino, and you.
I'm the guy looking at the other computer screen. Jeff Bober.
And we're always saying
onward.
Be sure and follow the show on Twitter @AmpsandAxes. Also, make sure you like the show on Facebook. For news, comments, and everything else, visit the webpage ampsandaxescast.com. Thanks for listening.